Hello and welcome back to Good Game Nation, where we bring you all things TCG. My name's Preston and welcome back to the news. And we got, I think, a fairly good one this week. I think there's 7 cards to review and a really cool thing that I don't know how it's going to be handled, but I'm looking forward to it. So let's jump into our card reveals for the next set. This is for OP10 Royal Bloodlines. I think it's going to be the official translation for its name. And our first card here is Mihawk, green character, 5 cost, 6k power, Odyssey, 7 Warlords of the Sea, 1k counter. On play, if you have 2 or more rested characters, set up to one of your cost 5 or lower rested Odyssey type characters as active. So it's hard to really talk about this card without thinking about how underplayed the limb leader is. So it's hard to say that this character card is going to have any impact because people really aren't playing it. So with that concept in mind, that people don't really play this leader because it's kind of difficult to play around having your characters come in rested, we have to think of, does this card really improve its state? And I think anything that's going to unrest characters is going to be good because the characters all come in rested. I don't know if this is going to change the deck though. It's just a rare. I don't think it's going to make the deck much more playable, but it's good to see. I think we're going to need quite a few cards here to make it playable. So hopefully we get a couple more that will make it interesting. On to our next guy here. Cavendish, blue character, 4 cost, 6k power, Dressrosa, beautiful pirates. When attacking, once per turn, draw 2 cards and trash 1 card from your hand. Okay, that's interesting. I will always like drawing cards. It's almost always a great thing. And you only have to get rid of 1, so you're getting a +1. You get to cycle out a card that you don't need. And when you think of Dressrosa type decks, they do have the mechanic of wanting stuff in the trash. So getting a card out of your hand into the trash is not a bad thing, especially if you're playing deeper into Dressrosa's black color types, which could be really interesting to use this to ditch a card and do cool stuff with. At 4 cost, I would have liked to see counter on it, but I get it. Gotta balance it out. If it has too many good things going for it, it's not a rare at that point. It's a SR or something like that. Overall, good card. I think it will get played. Let's see what the next card is. Alright, we got a Sanji. Full government name too. Vinsmoke Sanji, purple character, 1 cost, 2k power, Germa Kingdom, Vinsmoke family, 1k counter. On play, if your leader has Germa type included in its types, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and reveal up to 1 type Germa card included in its types and put it into your hand. Place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Okay, Germa gets a searcher. I thought Germa already had a searcher because I just didn't realize they didn't have a top 5 character searcher. I don't know how I didn't realize that it wasn't already in existence, but we finally got one, and I'm really excited to see what that does. Is that going to be able to pull our Germa leaders up? Or have we power crept way past what they're capable of doing? I don't know, but it's really exciting to be able to have this now, because we did have our cycling with the siblings, but not being able to, having to rely on your like stage event for your searchers. I think it was not even like a top 5 searcher. I think event searchers are usually like 3 or something like that. So having a character searcher, I think, is going to improve overall just the playability of this deck, which is going to be really exciting to see if we get a resurgence of the Riju in this set, especially if we get a couple more cards. If this is the only one, it's nice, but I don't know if it really makes a difference against what's played right now. If we get a couple, I think we have a chance of seeing a resurgence. We'll have to see what happens. But I like it. I'm really excited to see that come back around, especially just by adding a couple cards. Moving on to our next card here. Shiryu, black character, 4 cost 5k power, Blackbeard Pirates, 1k counter. During your opponent's turn, this character gains 2000 power. Activate main. If this is the turn this card was played, and if your leader has Blackbeard Pirate type, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with an original cost of 3 or less. Okay, 4 cost 5k power with 1k counter. It's okay. We're hitting a balance there. It feels kind of normal. A 7k on defense is quite nice. And then we get to the activate main, which I feel like is just a cop-out to get around Blackbeard's leader effect, which is kind of disappointing because it's basically an on-play. If it's the turn you played this card and your leader is Blackbeard, you get to do this effect. So basically on-play, just with a slightly different timing to get around that keyword trait. If that is the way that it's phrased, kind of disappointed, because I want them to make these swings like they did with the Blackbeard leader, but not just get around it like this. This feels lame. But besides my opinions on how they're phrasing these things, I think that overall having cards that KO is good, and getting support for the leader that came out last set is always going to happen. And I think overall, having a 7k defender and having a on-play effect is quite nice. It does say original cost of 3 or less, so you can't minus. So it kind of puts it in a weird spot, even in that case. I don't know. It feels weird. Feels very weird. Because black is going to minus like crazy. So it's really only hitting natural 3 or lesses, which is less good. I think there's probably better cards even with its full stat block. Okay, let's move on to our next card. Ooh, this is an exciting one, everybody. Let's see what he does. Let's see if you think he's as exciting as I do. Eustass Captain Kid, yellow character, 8 cost 9k power, Supernova, Kid Pirates. On play, you may rest this character, trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. End of your turn, if your opponent has 2 or less life cards, draw 1 card and discard 1 card from your hand. That's quite cool. So on play, we're trashing a life. That's lovely. We love to see it. Yellow is always going to do crazy crap like this, and they're putting it on an 8 cost kid, which is great. At the end of your turn, if your opponent has 2 or less life, draw a card, discard a card. That is incredible for endgame, I think. Being able to see an extra card every turn, and then you're going to have to drop a card. That's fine. Cycle out the cards that you know you don't need. You're at the end game, you should know what you don't need. Drop some cards that don't have counter. Drop some events that you're not going to use because they're useless at this point in the game. That's fine. You're getting to see an extra card every turn that you could potentially put at the top of your life with a different effect. It just gives you access, and access is everything. Like I said earlier with Cavendish, I'm always going to like drawing cards. I'm always going to like seeing that one more card, and being able to do it every turn after your opponent's life is low, giving you such a huge advantage like that. That's crazy. I love it. And it might just be that they put Kid on this stat block, but I'm all for it. I will always like Eustass cards, and this is no different. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you think it is as good as I think it is. I really would like to know your opinion on this. Let's move on to our next guy. Caesar Clown, red character, 7 cost, 7k power, Scientist, Punk Hazard. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and reveal up to 1 smiley and put it into your hand. Place the rest of the cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Then play up to 1 smiley from your hand. That's really cool. We've seen this type of thing before in yellow with, oh god, what was it? Doesn't really matter. But searching out a very specific, I think it was Holly the first time, and then it was the event cards for, yeah. We've seen this done before to some success. I'm not a huge fan of being able to search one card. And Smiley is the axolotl. I think that's what you say, axolotl, like jelly monster from Punk Hazard. There's been one before. There's probably going to be at least one here. So you have 2 targets amounting to at max 8 cards that you can find with this. I feel like that doesn't feel like enough for a searcher. Decks make it work, and they have to. I don't know if this is it. And it's a 7 cost at that. You have to pay 7 Dawn to potentially see Smiley. So unless we play a lot of trickery with our Caesar, it's most likely going to miss and you're going to be upset, and it just makes me like this card even less. Yeah, the more I think about it, the less I like it, and feels like a miss to me. Feels like the Caesar leader is gonna be a rough one, rough uphill battle. Moving on to our last card we have to talk about today. Don't let the art deceive you. This is Smoker. Smoker, 5 cost, 7k power, Punk Hazard, Navy, Banish. Activate main, set up to 1 of your Dawn cards as active. Then you cannot set Dawn cards as active through character effects for the rest of your turn. I don't like that idea. If green has a lot of Dawn control, which for the most part it does, it will set Dawn as active. You have cards that set Dawn as active at the end of your turn. Whether or not you have to play all of these in this new Navy deck is not the point. Because not being able to do it after you activate this, one, makes your turn order very specific, but also, I always want the option to do more. And telling me I can't do any more makes me sad. On the other hand, 5 cost, 7k power with an effect that does something. It's not terrible, it's just not my... I'm not a huge fan. I know it's going to be decent, especially if the deck is really good. This is a nice card, being able to set 1 Dawn at like turn 2 or 3 is quite nice. Yeah, turn 3. Being able to do this from turn 3 forward with a card that has Banish and 7k power is quite nice. It does make it quite a target because it has continuous benefits to keep it on the board. It's fairly balanced. It has a pretty bad downside in my opinion, but fairly balanced nonetheless. Let's move on to the last bit of news, and I really want to see how they handle this, because in Japan they handled these cards as a god pack, which meant you got all of them in a single pack, including the Manga Rare for that set. And they're revealing them to be in the set. And that's the PBR or whatever the name is, the best collection that's coming out. Now, seeing them means we're going to get them. How we're going to get them really matters, and if it's God packs, we know that that's extremely rare, and I believe it was even more rare than normal in Japan to be able to pull the full accompaniment of manga rares in a single pack. If it's just a card, like each one individually in a pack like a normal manga, that's good too, But if you just think about a single pack in the English set, having all of these cards, it's so expensive. That's such a huge pack. So I'm really excited to see what they do with it. But if it is God packs, kind of makes them as rare as they already are. So it won't fluctuate prices too much. If they're individual like we thought in the first place, that's a different story. It will affect prices of the original mangas a little bit, but not too much because they're going to be different. It's hard to tell, but I'll link the 2 posts in the description so you can kind of see it. New cards have stamps that say One Piece to make sure that they can't be faked as easily. And these will have it. So you'll be able to tell if it's first edition or not, based off of if they have the One Piece stamp, making it clear that it was a new version of it. But in any case, these cards are being reprinted in this set, and that's awesome. It also makes that set a little bit harder to get because a ton of people are going to be chasing it, whether it's a God pack or not. People are going to chase it, which is going to drive up the cost of those packs. It's going to drive up the cost of those boxes and make it a lot harder for you to get. I think that's the easiest way to put it, which is one thing. I mean, if you do pull it and you're going to be able to, if you want, sell all of them for quite a nice penny. But for people that are just trying to get access to the Nami or the Sanji leader or any of the alt arts that they really want, it gets a lot harder for everybody else because there are going to be people that are just dumping tons of money into hoping to have that one moment where they get all of the mangas that have been printed so far. I'm excited to see what happens. Nonetheless, I'm excited to see if it is a God pack, if we can pull one. And if it's not, if we can just get our hands on some more mangas, it's always nice to pull. But if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you want to get more One Piece TCG content, hit that subscribe. And until next time, peace.